All right, it's the appointed time for the scholar meeting, 6:30. I would ask you all to stand, please, and join us in prayer and the pledge of allegiance.
Would you pray with me, please? Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to exercise government authority, the ability to recognize those that want to make changes and approve or disapprove, however it may go, but do it in a democratic process. God, I pray that you would be with those that vote tomorrow, that I pray for our country as we go into another major important election. I pray everything's peaceful and it's clearly defined who wins that race. God, thank you for the many blessings that you give us. I pray that you'd always protect those who place themselves in harm's way for our benefit, and I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll, please.
Paul Kaiser.
Here.
David Hunt.
Here.
Jim Lamb. Jack Young.
Here.
Josh McNeil. Curtis Sigler.
Here.
John Conroy.
Here.
Ken Demetrio. Greg Easton.
All right, first item will be review of the minutes for the October meeting. Has anyone had a chance to look at the minutes and see if they're correct?
Move we approve.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. Call the roll, please.
Paul Kaiser.
Yes.
David Hunt.
Yes.
Jack Young.
Yes.
Curtis Sigler.
Yes.
John Conroy.
Yes. All right, our first item of business then is a public hearing for a plan development at Bartlett Boulevard and Yale Road plan development. Director Taylor.
Excuse me, I have a cough drop. Mr. David Bray is here tonight with the Bray firm, and he is requesting Planning Commission for a favorable recommendation for an 8-lot plan development on 3.66 acres of land. The subject property is located at the southeast corner of Yale Road and Bartlett Boulevard, and it is within the RS10 residential single-family zoning district. The lot sizes for this development will range from 13,580 square feet to 23,245 square feet. This particular development meets the lot size requirement of the RS10 zoning district and also the density units per acre of 3.5 units, as any normal RS10 development would have. One of the major differences for this PD as compared to a normal RS10 single-family development is the setbacks as well as the lot widths. The setbacks are listed in your staff report, and we would like to recommend a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Staff has reviewed this project. However, we would like to add a condition that if you do decide to give them a favorable recommendation, that they do go to the Board of Zoning Appeals for property size variance. Typically, we require 5 acres for a planned development, and this is 3.66 acres. But other than that, we have reviewed this application and recommend approval. Thank you.
Questions for Director Taylor?
Not at this time.
All right, seeing none. Thank you. Would the applicant come forward, please?
David Bray with Bray Firm, 2950 States Plaza North. So the variance request, that was, I just heard about that about 45 minutes ago, but we don't have a problem with that. That's to make that request. The reason this is before you as a plan development is you can see it's a little bit different type application. We didn't think it was appropriate to put that many driveways out on Yale Road, so we wanted to do something a little bit different. These houses would face out toward Yale, but then would have drive access from the rear, and that's why this is a plan development in front of you.
You in agreement with the staff's conditions and comments?
Yes, sir.
Okay, questions for the applicant?
I have a question for you, David, and this may go back to staff as well. As I'm looking at this development, golly, I used to go to Central North back in the early 90s, and I remember Pastor trying to get this piece of property for extra parking lot. So I know it's been vacant for a long time. So I'm glad to see, looking at it, getting it developed, because it's just been a piece of grass. But looking at the way this is laid out, I'm assuming there's going to be a fence along Bartlett Boulevard and Yale Road like it is on the other residential lots that abut Yale Road through this area. So therefore, I guess you wouldn't have a driveway going to Yale Road or Bartlett Boulevard. So I'm curious, how does a fire truck get in there, and and I know the chief is here, maybe he could answer that question, but I'm looking at fire safety, I'm looking at trash. How's the trash? Is he going to have to pull in there and then back all the way back? Especially if all those car spaces are taken.
If all the car spaces were taken, then that could be an issue for the garbage truck. We can work and see if we can create a little extra or take out 2 of the spaces and make them just for a turnaround. As far as the trash truck goes, as far as the fencing, unlike the lots across the street, you would not be looking at the rear of lots. This would be the front. So they would face towards Yale Road. So the front door would be towards Yale Road, but the access would be from the rear. As far as fire department goes, then they would have access from Yale Road, just as if these were fronting on Yale Road.
Okay. So you're saying there would not be a fence?
No, sir.
Along Bartlett Boulevard?
Unless they decided to come forward with some sort of decorative fence, but the applicant has not spoken to me about that yet. So I could see possibly like a wrought iron fence set back behind the sidewalk with some landscaping across there. That may be something he chooses to do, but not a screening fence like you have on the other side of the road.
Okay. All right.
Other questions?
What's your guesstimation on the price of a house that would be for sale tomorrow if the place was finished? What range would you see that in? 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, million?
It probably at least 4. And that's from my perspective, looking at the lot cost.
Yes.
I don't get into the houses, but for what these lots are going to cost to develop and be able to sell them, or in this case, the applicant's also a builder. But just what that would paper out to is I really don't see anything below 400. I mean, maybe 395.
I would agree with that. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, David.
The second question on this turnaround thing, should that be something you folks would put in this, or should we put it in about having enough space for trucks to turn around and all that stuff?
Yeah, it's in the staff report.
Okay. It's already there.
Missed it. I apologize.
Yes, I missed it too.
Is there a reason why I understand lot 1, is that what it is so much larger? Why would that drive not go all the way across Bartlett Boulevard?
Well, we could make another connection. I honestly figured that staff did not want a driveway into Bartlett Boulevard. There is the idea of a right in, right out in that condition. So we could make it across there. That lot would have the access through the end of that drive. At that point, it would no longer be shared. It would just become a private driveway into that lot. So lot 1 would also have the rear access.
It just seems to me it'd be a lot easier to get a fire truck in and out, or a garbage truck, or a furniture truck, or anything else that's being delivered, if it went straight through, rather than trying to
If Aaron's not jumping up and down and is okay with that being a right in, right out, we can take that over to Bartlett Boulevard and make
Right. It says in the staff report that it could be a right in, right out, or that it could provide a turnaround or a hammerhead. So, since it's a private road, we don't really have a call on that. I mean, we would have a call on the connection, and that would have to be right in, right out. But besides that,
How does the fire marshal feel about it? If you don't mind.
From our standpoint, based on the depth of the lots, the water is going to be on Yale Road. I'm sure that in the cost of developing these lots, they're not going to run a main all the way down that private drive. So our water is going to be on the front. It would be very, very rare that we would actually need to get back to the back of these residences.
Okay.
Be no different than in a regular subdivision. They're just a little bit deeper than a regular subdivision. But my concern at the staff meeting was, just like we said, for garbage pickup, because they're going to have to pull in and turn around and come back out. But the comments in there about a hammerhead on that end or a bubble like you would normally do in a cove
Okay.
for them to turn around. Now, our ambulance might use that rear drive rather than having to stop out on Yale and
Sure.
then load back and forth on Yale. So they would need a place to turn around, but it's a lot smaller than a fire truck.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions for the applicant? All right, we will commence our public hearing. Ground rules for the public hearing is anybody speaking, those speaking in favor will have a total of 20 minutes, up to 3 minutes per individual. Then those in opposition have the same maximum of 20 minutes, up to 3 minutes per individual. Do we have any correspondence on this?
No.
All right, is there anyone here to speak in favor of this plan development? Anyone here to speak in favor? All right, seeing no one, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this plan development? To speak in opposition? Again, seeing no one come forward, that will conclude our public hearing. Commissioners, discussion?
Yes, my only comment would be is I would at least like to see a space 18 foot wide, not designated for parking at the end. I guess that would be at the west end of that drive, cross hatched out for no parking for a turnaround. So that way if a trash truck comes in or an ambulance, as the fire marshal has mentioned, we just have an area that they can come down and turn around. And nothing's placed in that area.
So I understand. We're talking about a continuation of the drive across Lot 1 with there being a turnaround there.
It would just be at the south end, just like the parking spaces are.
Right.
It would just be a 18-foot wide little notch there at the end that would be cross-hatched out. No parking, on the pavement.
You talk about 18 feet, though. Is that enough to turn around a sanitation truck? I'm just not sure how big that needs to be. I do see a problem with sanitation, though.
Yeah.
Sam?
So engineering condition number 5 does say the developer shall add a turnaround or hammerhead for trucks on the private drive. Another option would be a right-in, right-out connection to Bartlett Boulevard. So with either option, there would be enough area to either have a full turnaround movement coming around, or you would at least have that hammerhead or cul-de-sac turnaround on Lot 1 that would pretty much take care of that additional condition.
Thanks, Sam.
Are you all right with that?
I just think that's going to reduce that lot 1 size.
Yeah. Good. Any other comments? If not, can I get a motion?
Can we approve? with conditions of staff.
You have a second?
If we second this, is the motion going to state with the right in, right out drive?
But with the conditions.
With the conditions? Well, it says or. That's why it said it's an option.
It does let.
So I think it needs
the
to be
one,
specific.
the motion on the floor does say it gives them the option. If we don't want to do that, then we let that die. But that's my motion this time. So
Okay.
go back to the chairman and we'll see what everybody says. If we don't want to do that though, then we'll need to
All right.
go back to that. But
All right.
I'm in favor of giving them the option, but that's up to the board.
All right, so there's no second for that motion. Do I have another motion?
I'll make a motion for approval based on staff comments and making comment number 5 mandatory that there is a right in, right out on Bartlett Boulevard.
I second that.
Any further discussion among the commissioners? Call a roll. Go ahead.
That motion needs to include and that they go to the Board of Zoning Appeals to obtain a variance for the 5-acre rule.
Okay. And as you just stated, Director Taylor, that they go to the Board of Board of Zoning Appeals, isn't it? Yes.
And my second includes that. How's that?
All right, call a roll, please.
Paul Kaiser.
No.
Do they need a bear quorum? Or a unanimous vote if they have a bear quorum? Okay. David Hunt.
Yes.
Jack Young.
Yes.
Curtis Sigler.
Yes.
John Conroy.
Yes. That item carries. The next item is Shadow Lawn Park Improvements, 4734 Shadow Lawn Road. Director Taylor.
Director Paul Wright of the Parks and Rec Department is here tonight to talk to you about the Shadow Lawn Park Road improvements. Mainly, the improvements include increased parking, increased ADA, accessible parking lot spaces, and an accessible playground. With that being said, Mr. Wright can come and explain it all to you.
Director, please state your name and address for the record.
Paul Wright, 5137 Bluff Springs Cove, Bartlett, Tennessee.
Thank you.
Taylor, Commission, I'm here before you tonight regarding Shadow Lawn Park. So this is one of our oldest parks in the park system. It was originally developed in the early 60s by the Shelby County Conservation Board, was operated under their supervision up until 2005 when it was ceded to the city of Bartlett. So we've been controlling that park space since 2005. The volume at this park has increased exponentially over the past several years, not just with the Bartlett Little League baseball operations there, the basketball court that's on site, but we've recently installed the pickleball courts as of 2021, so there's a significant demand, not to mention the fact that the Freshman Academy just to the north of the park space, that parking area serves as a pickup drop-off zone for parents who are dropping students off in the morning and picking them back up in the afternoon. So we're looking to accomplish several things with the enhancements here. We actually put this project together over the course of the past 18 months or so. We put the project out to bid in May of 2023, and those bids came back more than $500,000 above our budget. So we had to go back to the drawing board, look to see how can we make this a reality. So the LPRF grant, which is the Local Parks Recreation Fund, is a large grant that we are eligible for through the state of Tennessee. It is federal dollars that is administered through the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. So we have submitted and have been approved for a $750,000 grant to match our budget of $750,000 to enhance this park site. So there's 5 primary areas that we're wanting to enhance. Number 1 is making sure that it is fully accessible. So we're looking at, I think we've got the map pulled up. I'll actually start at number 1. So looking at the parking area itself, it's an old parking lot. It has very substandard subsurface conditions. What we're looking to do is we want to do a full depth reclamation of the existing parking lot, as well as install some concrete paved areas for the ADA accessible parking. In addition, in item number 2 there, we're looking to expand and add in an additional 50 parking spaces to be able to accommodate the volume that is occurring. And so we've outlined, again, this is just a concept plan. It's not the final plan by any stretch. We're looking at taking some of the space just to the west of the existing lot, as well as west of the playground, and then also to the northern border of the park. Item 3 on our plan is to address the existing playground. That was installed in 1999. Your typical playground lifespan is around 20 years, so we've more than exceeded that. Playground designs have improved significantly over the course of time, and we want to ensure that it is fully accessible for those who may have a movement disability, sensory disabilities, or other types of issues. Item 4 in the light blue is to replace the existing building there. That building was erected in 1971. It's a restroom/concession area that has served the community for more than enough time. It needs to be upgraded and replaced, so we're looking at enhancing that space with new bathrooms, new concession areas, new storage space. And then finally, we've got a lot of pathways that are on the park site that need to be replaced with concrete paved ADA walkways. So what I'm looking for the commission this evening is feedback on any items that you would like to see. I know that staff has already identified that we need to preserve the existing walking space on that western border, which we're more than amenable to do so, but also any other potential conditions that you would like to see included in this plan.
Questions? Like my grandson was over there playing ball for a long time. Is there another location for the stand and bathrooms besides up there on the mountain?
So the reason we are looking at keeping it in that spot is the plumbing and the electrical is already tied in there. So without increasing our budget another significant tens of thousands of dollars, we wanted to use what we could there. Now certainly the existing piping needs to be replaced, but for the most part, everything else in good condition. But great question. Yeah, I mean, if we had unlimited resources, we would completely raise the park and redesign and develop how things are laid out there.
Do the federal grants put a lot of stuff on you that you have to do to get the money? Is that all going to work?
It's all going to work. It is. Yes. So this is actually one of those steps that we need to go through in order to be eligible for these funds. Yes, sir.
Paul, the restrooms, concessions, et cetera, are going to be along the same line as we just recently did at Ellendale?
Correct, yes. So if you're familiar with Ellendale Park, those the previous structure there and the one that's currently existing at Shadlawn are pretty much sister facilities. They were almost identically designed, so it'll be a similar process. So the Ellendale restroom building, we replaced that in 2021 and basically took the existing slab and built over the top of that. So this would be taking up that same footprint, about 1,600 square feet roughly would be the size of this stand in the restroom.
You.
Other questions? Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions or comments, I move we approve with the recommendations from staff.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Call a roll, please.
Paul Kaiser,
Yes.
David Hunt,
Yes.
Jack Young,
Yes.
Curtis Sigler,
Yes.
John Conroy.
Yes. That item carries. All right, our next item is a historical landmark designation for Tatum Peterson House at 2921 Sycamore View Road.
The property owner, Deborah Peterson Brown of 2991 Sycamore View Road. The property is located within the Bartlett Historic District, and she is requesting a favorable recommendation from you, the Planning Commission, to place a local historic landmark designation on her property. This property is the original site of the Woodlawn Masonic Lodge number 211, which was built in 1866. Woodlawn Street is named after the lodge. In 1906, the lodge moved to Raleigh due to dwindling membership, and the building was sold to John W. Tatum. He owned the Tatum grocery store on Stage Road just east of the Bartlett Baptist Church. Tatum moved his family, a wife, and 4 children into the building. He served as a Bartlett alderman. He died in 1928, and his widow and 1 child remained in the home. His son, James H. Tatum, and 2 sisters and a husband demoed the old lodge and built the current house. J.H. Tatum was mayor of Bartlett from 1930 to 1933. Mayor Tatum died in 1961 and is buried at the Bartlett Ellendale Cemetery. Mr. Tatum's daughter, Irma, and son-in-law, Hugh Peterson, lived across the street on Sycamore View in a house that no longer remains. After the mayor and Mrs. Tatum passed, the Petersons moved into the house to help care for a great aunt who had never married. Hugh died in 2000, and his wife died in 2010. Their daughter, Debbie Brown, moved in to care for her mother, and Debbie continues to live in the house until today. This application went to the Historic Preservation Commission on September 16, 2024, and it comes to you with a favorable recommendation that if you do provide that, we will pass on to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for the final approval. Thank you.
Questions for Director Taylor?
My only question, I'm familiar with the property, is where would a marker go? There is so much plant growth in front of and around. Could you even see a marker if it was there?
Well, I would imagine they would have to clean something up to make it visible.
That's the only concern I have.
And we'll note that.
Okay.
I have a question. What's the advantage of this designation?
Well, there's no tax advantage because it's not on the National Register. It's just, I guess, pride for the city to show that we have something. The property is over 50 years old, which is a qualification, and it is already within the historic district.
Who pays for it?
Who pays for it?
For the sign.
Well, we will pay for the marker itself.
How much is that?
I'm not sure. Sorry, I don't know exactly. But the
And
Historic Preservation Commission, they have historically been able to budget for 2 markers a year, but they do have additional funding.
Okay.
Any other questions for the Director? Not, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Call a roll, please.
Paul Kaiser,
Yes.
David Hunt,
Yes.
Jack Young,
Yes.
Curtis Sigler,
Yes.
John Conroy.
Yes, that item carries. Next item is a local historic landmark designation for Pruden Milliken House at 2923 Sycamore View Road. Director?
Yes, we have 3 on tonight's agenda. The property owner, Dr. Patricia Milliken, of property located at 2923 Sycamore View Road, is requesting a favorable recommendation from you, the Planning Commission, to place a local historic landmark designation on the property. Romulus Alpha Pruden was a distant relative of G.M. Bartlett and his family that moved from North Carolina in the 1840s to a farm. Pruden fought as a Confederate in the Civil War. Pruden bought the lot from Bartlett and built the house in 1869. It is noted as Lot 8 of the original plat for the town of Bartlett in 1872. Pruden died in 1871 at age 39. His widow and children continued to live there until the children left home and the widow sold it in 1890. Walter and Julia Smith bought it and moved their family into it. The Smiths were the grandparents of W.J. Freeman. The home stayed in the Smith family until it was sold to Judge Freeman Marr in 1980. It was used as a rental home until it was purchased by Robert and Dr. Patricia Milliken in 2005. They began extensive restorations on the house, but Dr. Milliken died in 2006 from leukemia. Dr. Milliken completed the restoration, then began a large addition to the house along with an attached garage building. On September 16, 2024, the Bartlett Historic Preservation Commission gave a favorable recommendation to accept the Pruden Milliken home as a local landmark designation, and now it's here before you tonight so that it can move to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for final approval.
Questions for the director?
Shall we give the applicant a chance to speak on either one of these? Do we have any time? Is anybody here that's an applicant?
Here.
All right, thank you.
Question. I take it the write-up talks about a large addition has been made to the house. I take it that doesn't affect me having it designated as a local historic landmark?
No, it does not.
Okay, I don't quite understand that, but I don't have to, I guess. Any other discussion? I get a motion, please.
So moved.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Paul Kaiser,
Yes.
David Hunt,
Yes.
Jack Young,
Yes.
Curtis Sigler,
Yes.
John Conroy.
Yes, item carries. Item number 5 is a request for a local historic landmark designation for the Bell Martin House at 3101 Court Street.
The property owner, Carmen and Darlene Bell, property owners of 3101 Court Street, also located in the Historic District, are requesting a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission to place a local historic landmark designation on the property, also known as the Bell Martin House. This house was built in 1923 by the Martin family. According to the Register of Deeds, the home has been passed down to the Sally family, the Caldwell family, and the Treadway family. In 1978, Carmen and Darlene Bell purchased the subject property. Carmen was one of the founding members of the Bartlett Historical Society, and he has also served for many years on the Bartlett Historic Preservation Commission. This property went before the Historic Preservation Commission on September 16, 2024, and it comes to you with a favorable recommendation to pass it on to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for final approval. Thank you.
Questions for the director? Seeing none, get a motion, please.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Call the roll, please.
Paul Kaiser,
Yes.
David Hunt,
Yes.
Jack Young,
Yes.
Curtis Sigler,
Yes.
John Conroy.
Yes, that item carries. All right, now we're moving to open discussion. I understand someone has asked to speak.
Yes, Miss Beverly Holmgren at 6133 Kimberly Elise wants to just talk about the possible sale on the Quail Ridge Golf Course.
Again, give your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sir. Beverly Holmgren, 6133 Kimberly Elise, Bartlett, Tennessee. I am here this evening to talk about the possible sale. I know it's premature, and Mr. Harris was kind enough to speak to me today. There's no sales contract. But in the interest of transparency, I do live on the golf course, so I would hate to see that go. Maybe we could file for a landmark for it. What do you think? I'm kidding. Okay, stay on script. Of course, the course closed last Saturday, and I know David Wilder wants to sell it. That's the scuttlebutt, and I understand his son is a developer. But I'd just like to get on your radar that I think a golf course is an amenity to any city, like BPAC, like the rec center, which is now the YMCA, but still, it's an amenity. And I think I'd like to, like I said, get on the radar. And when it does start to happen, maybe we could get a grassroots program together and try and keep the golf course for all of us to enjoy for years to come. So thank you. Do you have any questions of me? Want to know what my handicap is?
What do you mean by get together, ma'am?
Sir?
What do you mean by get together and preserve? What does that mean?
Oh, I was kidding. You had all those 3 landmark houses, so I was just making a little joke. Sorry.
You
some of
sucked
you
me
may
in.
know me, some of you don't, and I'll just sneak away. Anyway, just wanted to speak, and I thank you for your time, and I thank you for serving. I can't imagine that you do this every month. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. That ends our meeting for tonight. We stand adjourned.